We asked people about some endorsements that you might get and how much that would make you more likely to vote for the candidate. The Times-Picayune, actually for a newspaper, did pretty good. 39 more likely, 21 less. That's a good number. That's a pretty good number. You passed a church, and I understand Bishop Wiley is here also. In total, 40 more likely, 40 less, 14 among African Americans is 53 to 10. The road to the mayor's office runs through the African American church. I don't know what these people running for mayor think they're going to be doing every Sunday between now and the election, but I know what they ought to be doing. And again, that's why I invited you guys here, just to reinforce the importance that faith has in the New Orleans electorate. And this is not, these kinds of numbers are not, and by the way, it's 28% of the African Americans in New Orleans are Catholic, which is unlike any other city too. Let's be fair, it's across the board here. 70%, 69 to be precise, of African American females go to church at least once a week. Compare that with 25% of white males. You get a little bit of difference here, but I'm just endorsement from African American political organizations like BO, it does fine, not as well as people have more faith in their church. The endorsement members of the city council, not terrible, but you'd like to have it, no problem. From the Democratic Party, very good. The Republican Party, this is not a Republican city in any way, and that's not going to surprise anybody. Labor unions, positive, you wouldn't turn it down, it's great. The Alliance for Good Government, where's very popular, very coveted endorsement. Candidates should pay particular attention to this. We go through 62. All of these are going to be positive. These are messages that we pulled out. The more popular ones, the most popular you get is when you talk about crime and you talk about education. The least popular you do is if you talk about Ray Nagin. You can see those numbers. They're really pretty clear. Crime, education, less if you talk about Nagin, but they're all positive. One of the things that we hear, it is time for the New Orleans government to get back to basics, and I'll make sure that our city government fulfills its fundamental obligations, including trash pickup, fixing the city's roads, and continuing cleanup from Katrina. There's a sense in what's also kind of interesting here is that it's more in the African American community than the white community, and I suspect is they feel the lack of city services more profoundly. But there's part of the job of being mayor is seeing that the nitty gritty of the city gets done. I mean, yeah, it's nice to be cutting ribbons and giving speeches and going on business development trips or whatever it is you do, but people very much in this city feel like that their city government impacts their lives, and it's very important. The blocking and tackling here, if you will, that the mayor does is pivotal and critical. We did an experiment, and again, we were sort of stunned at the lack of divide. We gave two messages, questions 68 and 69, and they were exactly the same, 500 each. We changed one word. We just said one person was a white man, the other person was an African American man. If anything, and we showed that people were more than willing to cross racial lines to vote. If anything, the African Americans were a little more willing to vote for a white candidate. This is just a poll question. Let me be clear. This is not running a race. This is just a poll question, and some guys sitting around and thinking of a way to ask it. But it reinforces the point that I made at the beginning is that people are ready to have a serious election. They're ready to consider anybody that is addressing the issues that they're concerned about. And this poll is complete with proof of that. Questions 68 and 69 are a prime example for that. Question 79 is that we like to check ourselves. Okay? So we asked people, wait, when you voted in 2006 for mayor, did you vote for Megan or Landry? And if we get something really out of kilter, then we tell ourselves, oh God, we messed up. What's wrong with the sample or anything? 45-45. That's right in range. Megan's unpopular, it's not surprising. It's right what you'd expect, fewer people to kind of recall voting for him than did, but that tells us, that's a self-check on our sample to say, hey, is everything in line? This number is completely where you would expect it. It tells us that our findings gives us a great deal of confidence that our findings are right. The only thing we ask at trial heat is, if there's been a debate about Landry running for 2010, although he hasn't said anything publicly, if Landry runs for mayor in 2010, we should definitely vote for him. Probably vote for him, but consider other candidates. Probably not vote for him, but consider it, or definitely not. He's got impressive numbers again. I don't think, there's no such thing as an inevitable person to ask President Hillary Clinton. There's not, or Dick Thornburgh in Pennsylvania, George H.W. Bush in 1992. But it's safe to say that if Mr. Landry runs, I have no idea, but if he runs for mayor, he will start as the front runner. That will be a surprise to nobody in this room. But we didn't want to spend a lot of time asking trial heats, because what we would have found is what we suspected, that Landry was going to be the front runner and the other candidates would be no. This doesn't mean that other candidates shouldn't run, or that it's a foregone conclusion or any such thing. It does mean that Landry has unsurprisingly, has a very positive profile in this city. Question 75. What is it? What, 74. Again, we got to have a little fun here. And we asked people what was their favorite New Orleans dish. And of course, me being from upriver, put jambalaya in there, but it's more of an upriver dish than a New Orleans dish. But gumbo was first, red beans and rice, followed closely by po' boys and jambalaya, number 4. But we were struck by the passion that people talked about. I just threw it out in the focus group because you need about a passion in the argument. People were talking about the dishes that they like and the connection that people have with food here. It's not living here and having grown up in Louisiana, I'm not surprised at all by this. No one in the city would be surprised, but we just did this to try to add a little levity to a very serious time in our city's history. If you look at another interesting thing is self-described ideology. In other words, we ask people, you consider yourself a conservative, a moderate, or liberal. It's almost exactly the same. If anything, African Americans describe themselves as more conservative than whites do. But by and large, most people in New Orleans, the city is 29 self-described conservatives, 38 moderate, 28 liberal. The country, you can figure, is 40 conservative, 40 moderate, 20. There's a rule of thumb, 40, 40, 20. So the city is, unsurprisingly, somewhat more liberal in the country, but not a lot more. And again, very unified in how people describe themselves. 45% of this electorate is Protestant, 35% Catholic. Very important. Of the African American electorate, 28%. No other city in America has anything remotely close to that Catholic of an African American vote. Church attendance weekly. 51% of the African American community, only 27% of the white community. That number goes much higher when you do the faith. They combine more than once a week or weekly. 60% of all African Americans go to church at least once a week. 32% of all whites. And the female number goes even higher. Females are more likely to go to church. It's again, a very significant number. Gender, 42 of people who vote are male, 58 female. Among whites, 49-51. Among African Americans, 38.